this is my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, so in this episode, it's immediately after we saw at the end of Another One Bites the Dust Part 2. So it starts out with Yoshikage Kira pointing out that because of the coffee spill that morning, he slipped his watch into his pocket, which was able to protect himself. And gloats that luck seems to be on his side, and then proceeds to go and strike Hayato for his insolence, but then points out that would be pointless because Bites the Dust would just defend him anyway. Although he's also quick to point out that because Hayato was able to think of using Straight Track to try and kill him, that he most likely has looped the morning several times, and then proceeds to wonder who he actually killed for him. Wondering if since he knows since it seems like he's very in a panic, that it seems like Rohan is going to die almost immediately. And then surmises that either Koichi or Jotaro is also going to die, pointing out that he would very much like them too, since they were very insolent, since they were very rude to him back when he first met them, and also Jotaro just kind of beat the shit out of him last time they met. So obviously he would want to get rid of them as soon as possible. But he also gloats that clearly luck seems to be on his side. Putting Hayato's hat on him to kind of seal the deal, since he's fated to do that every morning until he stops, and also remarks that once all of the threats to him are dead, he'll undo Bites the Dust for a little while to keep Hayato from being the morning, because as he points out, it's a little too dangerous. At which point he loudly gloats that and in his own words, luck is clearly on the side of Yoshikage Kira. Which Hayato then proceeds to point out. He said his own name out loud. Yoshikage Kira actually points out that he doesn't really care if Hayato hears his name, and decides to loudly proclaim that his name is Yoshikage Kira again. But as it turns out, that's actually played well into Hayato's plan. As it turns out, on the off chance he wasn't able to kill Yoshikage Kira with Stray Cat, he actually came up with a backup plan where he actually called somebody early in the morning and asked them to wake up early so that they would be on time for their meeting. And as it turns out, it was a gamble that paid off, because Josuke shows up at that exact moment, having been the one that Hayato had actually called. So yeah, long story short, Hayato had called Josuke ahead of time and in order to wake him up so that he would actually be on time for the meeting. So he was there with seconds to spare, and just heard Yoshikage Kira proclaim that he is indeed Yoshikage Kira. So ironically, Yoshikage Kira played himself. But in case Josuke with Okuyasu in tow quickly proceed to start questioning Yoshikage Kira and whether or not he's the same exact person. At which point Kira realizes he's in a bad state and tries to flee. Only for Josuke to not push him over with crazy diamond. And quickly points out that he is indeed not Yoshikage Kira, but rather just shares the same name, that he'll be more than happy to fix his wounds. And even Okuyasu points out that clearly the picture Rohan took was the right way to go, because Hayato led them right to Yoshikage Kira, so clearly they got the right lead that they needed. At which point Yoshikage Kira realizes that he's in danger and needs to actually start defending himself. So as Josuke is about to throw a punch, and as it starts to turn to 8:30, remember 8:30 is the deadline for when Rohan dies. Yoshikage Kira draws Killer Queen, which then proceeds to come in front of Yoshikage Kira and defend him from Josuke's punch. Which is a kind of a happier victory, because on the one hand Yoshikage Kira is now at full power and is able to actually fight back against Josuke and Okuyasu, but on the other hand, because he was forced to withdraw Killer Queen and turn off Bites the Dust, Rohan and the others don't die, and they're completely fine. So yeah, because of that, Rohan actually winds up meeting with Koichi and Jotaro, but they don't really know. But as we find out in this episode, they don't really know what happened to Josuke and Okuyasu. They don't know that the two of them are currently confronting Yoshikage Kira. So they just assume that they've slept in, and that's the last we see of them for the episode. But in case now that Yoshikage Kira has been basically cornered, the two Josuke and Kira then proceed to face off for the first and final time. And during their brief fight, the color scheme actually changes to Star Platinum in the world, which is a really fun parallel because that's one of their most iconic fights. And obviously this is like the kind of the same setup where it's two mortal enemies facing off against one another. So obviously they changed the color scheme to the world in Star Platinum because it's supposed to reflect that fight. And while the two of them are able to, and while Crazy Diamond and Killer Queen seem to at first be evenly matched, Killer Queen, it quickly becomes apparent that Yoshikage Kira isn't very good at actually fighting. So yeah, he quickly sweeps Josuke's leg using his stand, but Josuke is able to retaliate with a punch of his own and send him flying into a wall, and it quickly becomes apparent that he isn't very good at fighting because he isn't particularly great at defending himself. He defends himself quickly in the one scene with Killer Queen, but once it actually comes to fighting, he's very sloppy and very open to making mistakes, and it's clear that he relies a lot more on his ability than he does on actual fighting. So for that reason, he just kind of gets beat up and runs into a wall and gets knocked into a wall. And Hayato also remarks that even though he can't see it, he can tell that Josuke is currently winning. So yeah, it's very interesting. Hayato is just kind of here as somebody who isn't a stand user, and can't really see the stands, but for whatever reason, he's just able to tell that there's a stand battle going on, and he's actually that Josuke is currently winning. It's a very interesting dynamic because normally non-stand users don't really know what's going on around them. Case in point, during the fight with Dio, the police kind of come in to try and arrest him without fully understanding who he is or what kind of crimes he's committed. And it's just that was just a recurring thing throughout part 3 that most normal civilians are completely unaware of what stands are, let alone how they actually work and what their power sets are. But here we have Hayato, who doesn't really see them, but understands what a stand is and what's actually going on. So it's a very interesting change of pace because I think Hayato might be the first civilian to actually see two stand users fight and completely understand what's going on between them. It's a very interesting dynamic. But in case tangent about Hayato aside, Josuke then proceeds to confront Yoshikage Kira and point out that he doesn't seem to be very good at fighting, which I've already explained in detail. But Okuyasu merely remarks that he shouldn't let his guard down and points out that if he lets himself get touched by Killer Queen, he'll be blown up, and that it's much safer for the hand to actually deal with Yoshikage Kira instead, and then proceeds to pull him away from Josuke so that he doesn't get touched. However, as it turns out, Yoshikage Kira actually isn't all that worried, pointing out that his current attack was actually redirected toward Okuyasu. And it's only then when Hayato realizes that Stray Cat is suddenly missing from his backpack, and then just not 2 seconds later, Okuyasu's side gets blown up without ever actually being touched by Yoshikage Kira or his Killer Queen. Okuyasu is blown away from an explosion, and nobody's really entirely sure what's going on. Josuke kind of cries a little bit because obviously his best friend is mortally wounded, if not worse. And he's quickly realizing that, and he realizes that Okuyasu is probably in danger. Whereas Hayato is completely confused as to what just happened because he knows that Killer Queen has a range limit. So obviously he couldn't have touched Okuyasu at all. At which point Yoshikage Kira reveals that his whole master plan. As it turns out, the reason he deliberately kept Stray Cat around was so that he could basically modify his bombs to become long-range attacks. Case in point, Killer Queen's stomach is actually revealed to be hollow, and that Stray Cat is currently sitting inside of it. So, sure enough, because of that, now Yoshikage Kira has ranged attacks. And Hayato begins to despair because he realized that he basically gave Yoshikage Kira his new upgraded abilities by bringing him Stray Cat. So obviously Hayato had the best of intentions. He brought Stray Cat with him to actually try and kill Yoshikage Kira. And while it didn't work for reasons that are explained thoroughly in this episode and the last one, but because of that, Hayato unwittingly just gave Yoshikage Kira a straight upgrade to his bombs. So now despite not being a long-range stand, Killer Queen has gained a long-range ability through a cheat, and is now able to attack Josuke from long range using Stray Cat's air bullets. At which point he then proceeds to fire another air bullet at Josuke. And Hayato warns him about what's going on, but it quickly becomes apparent that for whatever reason Hayato is able to see Stray Cat's air bullets, but Josuke can't. And as far as I know, this has never been explained, but apparently Hayato is able to just see Stray Cat's abilities as well as Stray Cat, and for obvious reasons everybody can see Stray Cat because it's bound to a plant, but for whatever reason Hayato is able to see Stray Cat's attacks, but Josuke isn't, and thus has to warn him about when Stray Cat's attacks are coming. In case in point, what he warns Josuke that Stray Cat is about to hit him, and by extension Killer Queen's bombs are about to hit him. So Josuke beats up the gravel underneath his feet to actually protect himself by repairing the street rubble into a wall, which will then block the bombs. And Killer Queen and Yoshikage Kira is quick to point out that that's actually pretty impressive, but that it'll take a lot more to actually defend himself against that. And sure enough, he fires another bullet again, but when Josuke uses the same exact strategy to defend himself against the bomb, it actually seeps through a hole in the thing, through a crack. It seeps through a hole in the wall that Josuke created and is able to blow him up, which causes Josuke to tumble into the street and roll around in the gravel he created. At which point Yoshikage Kira is quick to point out that though his ability is impressive, it's not as impressive as Killer Queen, or at least as Yoshikage Kira wants to believe, because as we've established, he's very, very confident in his abilities as a stand user, or at the very least his main abilities. Not so much his fighting capabilities, as he even mentions in this episode, he doesn't like, and as he's mentioned several times previously, he doesn't like fighting because fighting causes stress. And since his entire end goal is to live a peaceful life, he tries to avoid fighting as much as possible. So obviously he's not very good at fighting for that reason. But he does explain several times throughout the series that he doesn't like confrontations because they cause stress, which is not what he wants which is kind of counterintuitive to his peaceful life. But he does point out that though Josuke is confident in his abilities, he can't really heal himself. So that he is quick to point out that he won't be able to actually defend himself for much longer against Killer Queen's onslaught. At which point Josuke actually gets a pretty brilliant idea. When Killer Queen fires off another Stray Cat charged air bullet, he then, instead of trying to block it, he actually runs straight into it. And since, as Yoshikage Kira claims, because of Stray Cat, he can actually detonate his bombs at any distance he wants. But the problem with that is that as Josuke quickly surmises, Killer Queen can blow them up at any range. But apparently, at least according to Josuke, Yoshikage Kira himself is not immune to his own explosions. So case in point, he runs into the explosion, becomes charged because of the explosion, and then proceeds to just go into a dead sprint in front of Yoshikage Kira. And because Yoshikage Kira is currently standing next to Okuyasu, Josuke is able to actually get to Okuyasu so he can heal him. Only for it to be questionable as to whether or not Okuyasu has actually been charged into a bomb. Since Hayato is quick to point out that he shouldn't touch Okuyasu, since Okuyasu might have been charged without anybody realizing it. Since, as I've just recently explained to you, throughout this entire fight, Killer Queen has been standing next to Okuyasu this whole time and trying to keep Josuke on the defense so that he can't actually get to Okuyasu and heal him. So Hayato is quick to point out that Okuyasu could have been charged at any time, and Yoshikage here actually does gloat this to himself, pointing out that it's possible that Okuyasu could have been turned into a bomb. It's possible he may not. He could also just fire off an attack. And then proceeds to summon Killer Queen and proceed to try and gamble his way through by claiming to press the bomb before it blows up. And sure enough, Josuke then proceeds to panic and tries to bargain with Yoshikage Kira, telling him that he can just turn off the bomb and fire another bomb at Josuke, pointing out that he can easily handle it. But Yoshikage Kira points out that that's not what he's going to do, and basically just gives Josuke an ultimatum. Either he confronts Yoshikage Kira and lets Okuyasu die, or he uses his stand to heal Okuyasu but dies himself in the process. And while Josuke is completely hesitant as to whether or not he should do it, Hayato actually dissuades him not to, pointing out that as he surmises, he's lived with the man for many months now, and points out that he's actually gotten pretty good at reading his facial expressions, and points out that he's quick to point out that that based on what he's observed, and based on what he's actually been doing, and based on how he's actually reacting in this situation, it's clear that Okuyasu has been turned into a bomb, and that Killer Queen isn't able to actually fire off another ranged attack, because as it turns out, or at least according to Hayato, Killer Queen can only fire off one bomb at a time. So yeah, because of that, Killer Queen is just kind of baiting on whether or not he can actually blow up Josuke and Okuyasu in one fell swoop. At which point, Hayato decides that he's not going to make Josuke make that decision, and then proceeds to touch Okuyasu's body so that he blows up instead, and then Josuke heals them both. Which Yoshikage Kira then proceeds to be surprised about, because as he points out, his bombs should be instantaneous and should have killed him instantly, and the fact that Josuke was able to immediately heal Hayato with Crazy Diamond reveals that Josuke is actually much bigger threat than he thought. So, but in any case, Josuke is able to successfully heal Okuyasu and stop Hayato from exploding, and starts carrying around Okuyasu's body, trying to get him to wake up. Which obviously isn't happening, because Okuyasu just kind of took a major blow to his side, and obviously he's going to need some time to recover. Hayato immediately assumes the worst, thinking that Okuyasu is dead. It's because he's not moving, and he had a very bad wound from Yoshikage Kira's air bombs. So obviously, if he's not dead, he is at the very least still very badly injured, despite being healed. So, but in any case, as Josuke is trying to get Okuyasu to wake up and try so that they can confront Yoshikage Kira together, because obviously they're best friends and they do everything together. Yoshikage Kira then proceeds to fire off another air bomb, and then explains that, well, he can't actually see it. He can actually use mathematics to actually keep an eye on where it is, which is very explicit in the comics. The entire frame where this is happening just showcases all the mathematics that he's using to actually showcase where it is. I'll probably picture it up here, but yeah, he isn't able to see it, but he uses math to calculate that it's several meters away, and it goes meter by meter until it actually is close to hitting Josuke, pointing out that he's going to blow him in the nose before he actually realizes what's going on. However, at the last second, as Josuke is trying to get Okuyasu to wake up, Josuke actually uses Crazy Diamonds to turn his blood into a pressurized water slicer. I'm not entirely sure the exact terminology, but case in point. But the thing is, Josuke uses his Crazy Diamond to turn his blood into a water blade, and then proceeds to fling it at Yoshikage Kira. And it works. Yoshikage Kira gets hit, but since it's blood, it doesn't really do much of anything. But it does slice through the bomb. However, Hayato quickly realizes that didn't really do anything because all it really did is split the bomb in half, and now there's 2 bombs. And Yoshikage Kira even explains that why that's the thing, because because normally the bomb is Stray Cat's air bullets, as we've established, they break when hit with high puncturing things, because during its brief fight with Hayato, Stray Cat tried to pin him with several air bullets, and Hayato was able to pop them with a compass. But here not the case, because Yoshikage Kira's bombs are actually keeping it stable, because obviously the bombs won't disperse until they detonate. So yeah, because of that, Josuke actually just winds up making 2 bombs. But as it turns out, Josuke doesn't really have to worry all that much about it, because remember when I said he got some gravel in his wounds? Yeah, he uses that to his advantage, because he actually while he can't really heal his own wounds, he can heal things that are in them. So, case in point, when he makes that slashing blood slicer thing that he fires at Yoshikage Kira, he actually repairs the gravel in his wounds and is pulled to safety as the bomb is exploding. At which point the trio then begin to escape down an alley. And Josuke points out that he'll have to make his last stand in one of the nearby abandoned houses, so that they can actually face off against Yoshikage Kira and defeat him. Hayato once again points out that that he really needs to put Okuyasu's body down, because as he's quick to point out, Okuyasu could be dead and is just kind of slowing Josuke down. So obviously Hayato is a little bit paranoid that Josuke is going to die to Yoshikage Kira. So obviously he has his best interest in heart, trying to keep Josuke from actually getting hurt, but Josuke merely tells him to shut up, pointing out that he doesn't really want to hear any more of it about his friend being dead, and then proceeds to go into the house. Meanwhile, Yoshikage Kira decides to change his priorities about who he actually wants to kill. So, up to this point, he's actually viewed Jotaro as his greatest enemy, because obviously Jotaro has the ability to stop time, and that can easily circumvent his ability to create air bullets. Jotaro is able to, because Jotaro is able to circumvent that, he can actually go around, just avoid his attacks entirely and defeat him that way. But he ultimately decides that Josuke is actually his mortal enemy, because as we've just established, Josuke is able to undo the damage done by his bombs. So obviously Josuke serves as the bigger threat, because he can heal and repair anything. Whereas Killer Queen is able to destroy anything it touches. So the two are obviously polar opposites of one another, and otherwise Killer Queen's attacks are invincible. So yeah, or at least according to Yoshikage Kira they are. So with that, Yoshikage Kira declares that he's going to kill Josuke and defeat him once and for all. So yeah, this episode just kind of sets up the final battle between, or I guess you can't really call it a final battle, since it's the first time these two stands have actually faced off. But it's a final battle against Killer Queen and Crazy Diamond. And obviously the two have a bit of an interesting advantage, because it's an interesting fight, because neither of them are ranged attackers, and yet this entire battle happens at range. So yeah, Killer Queen is not a ranged attacker, but Yoshikage Kira found a way to circumvent that with Stray Cat, and now also Josuke has actually found a way to create a cheat himself to actually defend himself against Killer Queen, because by using his ability to affect the things around him to keep himself out of range of Killer Queen's bombs. Case in point, he used his blood to create a ranged attack, which probably wasn't the best idea, because he could have gone anemic from that, and he's probably only going to do that once or twice. But in addition to that, he's able to actually go on the defensive by basically making walls to defend himself, and also pull himself to safety with damaged things that are around him. So yeah, it's a very interesting fight, because it's normally a ranged attack is between two stands who have ranged abilities, but neither of these stands are ranged. They're both close range attack type stands. They're both built for fighting up close and personal with their fists. So yeah, it's very interesting because Hirohiko Araki, he basically made a long-range fight against 2 close-range stands, and that's very interesting from a fight perspective. But that also begs the question of how much more is this fight going to continue, because obviously Josuke is now has to go completely on defensive, because not only is he looking around at deadweight Okuyasu, but he also doesn't have many ranged options himself. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how he actually faces off against Killer Queen and Stray Cat and his combined might with Stray Cat. That's going to be very interesting to dissect. But in any case, that's my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter in the description below. And also be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. I have a website if you guys want to go check that out. In addition to posting everybody's perks and what they get on my website when they support me on Patreon, I also write written reviews. I'm gonna try and do one on Monster Hunter World, because I kind of need to pick that game up again, and that was an idea I had for a review. But currently I have a review up there for Crown Challenger, so if you guys want to see that, then go read that. I'm going to try and work on more written reviews in the future. So yeah, if you guys do want to see more of that, then be sure to check those out, because sometimes I can't do a Let's Play on a certain game, so I do a written review of it instead. Or I do the Let's Play anyway and then write a written review, because there's more to explain than that I can do in a little video that I make up here on YouTube for the funsies. And also be sure to check out my Twitch. Not too long ago, it was Memorial Day yesterday, so obviously I didn't post a video yesterday. But 2 days ago, I actually did another stream on Miitopia. Unfortunately, I had some camera issues, so you guys are gonna have to deal with that. But other than that, it turned out pretty good. I actually wrote down a code for somebody's Miis on this little piece of paper here, and I'm going to be using those as soon as I can. So yeah, go check that out. Maybe leave me a comment in the Twitch chat when they go live, so that I can actually do more with that, because obviously the series is also dependent on you guys, because you guys do need to send me some code so I can actually do things with them. But yeah, go check that out. I may or may not stream. Depending on if it's a holiday or not, I probably may not stream. I think next week I'm gonna stream, and then I'm gonna be on and off for the next couple of weeks, and then I'll be fine for a while. So yeah, it's gonna be shaky for the next couple of weeks, but I do plan to stream regularly. It's just I don't stream on holidays or record on holidays, and obviously or major events like Memorial Day, but I'm going to try and stream as often as I can. And also, if you want to see more videos from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is the video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So, if you guys want to see more of what you like, or try something completely different, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But, regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!